Hello, African sports fanatics. Welcome to another episode of the Safari Soccer Show. I'm your host, Yvonne Etta. Now, today, my guest is an English professional football manager. He was once around last year. He coached Gor Mahia. He's coached Africa, been to Botswana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and I think you have a very great CV, coach. Now, just before I start asking my questions, just introduce yourself to the viewers and take us through your football journey. You've played football and also you've been a football coach as well.
Yeah, sure. My name is Mark Harrison. I'm a British citizen, but also a South African resident.
Yeah.
I played in the UK for Southampton, Port Vale and Stoke City. In the old English First Division, which is now the Premier League.
Yeah.
I also played in South Africa for Hellenic on two different occasions. Since retiring from football as a player, I've been coaching ever since for the last 30 plus years coaching. And I've coached in the UK, in Asia and Africa, as you quite rightly said, in 4 or 5 different African countries. At the moment in time, I'm in Malawi. I'm the technical director of Mighty Wanderers here in Blantyre.
Great. As I was just going through your CV, I checked you started your career with Southampton as a trainee, and then you later joined Port Vale, which was it was playing 4th division. But then when you joined Port Vale, you started as the first choice goalkeeper. How is it when you're starting your career and you be the first choice goalkeeper? How was it for you?
Yeah, it was a great period in my life. I remember it so clearly as well. You know, I was only 19 as well, and I went to Port Vale. I left Southampton, who were a sort of a Premier League club or old First Division, you know, in those times. And I went to Port Vale, which were 4th Division, which was a sort of big drop down. It was very different, but it was a big opportunity for me to play, league football. It was fantastic. As I said, I was only 19, and it was a great time. And it basically gave me the platform for my whole career now, for where I am today. That was my platform.
So, coach, you played in England. Then you've also played in South Africa, where you played for Hellenic. Then from Hellenic, you went back to England. From England, you came back to play for Hellenic for the 2nd time. Just give us a brief difference between the South African League, or let's generalize it as the African League, and the England League. What's the difference?
I think ultimately it's the professionalism is the big difference. The professionalism in the UK compared to the African football clubs is the professionalism, number one. And obviously, I think it goes without saying, it's also the finance. You know, there's the amount of finance in the European game is huge compared to the African game, where it's very little. And the clubs really do suffer. They find it very difficult to be professional because of that. You know, when I say be professional, I mean to conduct themselves in a very professional manner because of that. You know.
Also, can we say that the African League, the African team, so the African football, doesn't invest so much as compared to the England League?
Does it differ? Is that the question you asked?
Yeah, the investing in football or soccer as a whole.
Yeah, because the infrastructure in, say, the European leagues is so good. The training facilities, all the sort of medical facilities and the stadia are so superior to Africa, to the African football. Look, you can go down to South Africa, where they've had the World Cup, so there's a legacy there. You know, there's the World Cup legacy there. They've got quality stadium. They've also got quality training facilities because of the World Cup. But even now, if you go, you can see this deterioration in the stadium. There's deterioration in the training facilities. They're not looked after as they should be. And also, a lot of them are white elephants because they can't command the crowd. I mean, you go to play in Mbombela Stadium, and it's a massive stadium. There's probably about 2,000-3,000 people there, you know. Where if you watch European football, every stadium is full every week. You know, 70, 80,000 people every week. So yeah, there's your big differences, you know.
Apart from investing in football, let's also talk about the match officiating controversy here in Africa. Because like yesterday, just an example, yesterday the Kenyan Premier League started, and then there was a match. Your former club, Gor Mahia, played against Nzoia, and Nzoia scored, but then the referee disallowed the goal, and it has been. I don't think if you've watched the goal yet, because if you'd have watched it, we could discuss about the goal. But just in general, there has been a lot of controversy with the officiating in African football. How is it between from the other side as well, European football? Is there how is it?
Again, professionalism. I mean, the referees in Europe, they train every day, and that's a major difference. And I've got to say, and maybe, you know, it's not a nice thing to say, but I think in African football there's a lot of corruption. And it is a major problem. And when you get clubs like Gor Mahia, Leopards, or then you go to maybe into Zimbabwe where you get Highlanders and Dynamos. You go to Botswana where you get Gaborone United and Rollers. They always get favours. They always get favours. And you know what? The clubs are even open about it. They're not aloof of it. It's quite scary, you know. Oh, you know, we'll be okay today because we're Gor Mahia or we're FC Leopards, and it's a fact, and it's quite depressing, really, because it takes away what the game's about, you know. And these small, when they get denied opportunity. And look, I'm not saying it's all corruption. There's a lot of unprofessionalism and a lot of poorly educated referees and linesmen, you know, in football as well. So, you know, it's not. I'm not suggesting it's all corruption, but there's an element of it, and it's, you know. Also, I think there's a lot of fear as well goes through these referees, because, you know, when you're talking about the Gor Mahias and the Leopards, the Highlanders, and the Dynamos, those types of clubs, they've got big support base, and the supporters get violent, and the security at these grounds is not good. And it's not good for the players, it's not good for the referees, for the technical team, etc. So there is that element of fear involved as well. And the referees, if it's a late equaliser or a late winner, they'll deny the goal because they'll fear for themselves, you know. And that's something that the authorities need to take care of. You know, obviously the police and the armies, if they're on standby, and especially the football associations of these countries need to step up. And no good crying that Africa's miles behind European football or world football. You know, well, do something about it. You know, stand up and do something.
Yeah, great. Okay, let's talk about you played, then you retired. From retiring, you became a youth coach of Bristol City, then a goalkeeper coach of Vivaton later. How was it transitioning from a football player to a football coach?
Yeah, it was different, I got to say. I think in the first few months of my sort of coaching, it was a bit nervy. You know, I was apprehensive. But, you know, you fall into the role, and then you get engaged in it, and you just move with it. Really, football's been my life, so I don't know anything else really. It would be difficult for me to have done anything different, and I just tried so hard to stay in the game, you know. And that's why I've also been around the world a little bit, I guess, with football, because when you go out of jobs, it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to leave the country. I'm going to stay in the UK and wait for something to come. I was always looking for the next opportunity, and wherever it took me, I was prepared to go, and my family travelled with me, and it's been great for me, you know, great exposure to see different countries, how things work differently. Massive experience. So yeah, I just fell into it and just grew with it, really.
Great. Also, we can't deny the fact that in your football career, you've had ups and downs as well. Let's just talk about this time you were appointed the head coach of Chippa United in April 2013. But despite not losing a game, you were unable to keep your team, prevent the team from being relegated. I just want to get to understand the picture. Here you are with a team, you've won your games, but despite this, the team still got relegated. How was it, and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, that was painful because when I arrived at Chippa, we were at the bottom of the league. We were adrift. We had 9 games remaining. They hadn't won a game in 12, and I came in and we turned it round rapid. We didn't, as you quite rightly say, we didn't lose the game. We got off the bottom. We actually made the playoffs, relegation playoffs, and it was only in the playoffs did we actually lose 1 game in the playoffs only, and because we lost 1-0 away to Mpumalanga Black Aces in the last minute of the game. And that was really painful because obviously turning the club around from being dead in the water to having a chance of survival, and we really believed we could make it, you know. And the players gave everything, technical gave everything, and it was such a shame. And I've got to say that was probably one of my most painful periods of my coaching career, you know.
Also, from there you still stayed with the club, but then after around, I think it was 4 games in the 2013-2014 season, you resigned. Well, why did you resign from the club?
Well, we got relegated to the first division. We started well, we were top, but then I got the opportunity to go to Golden Arrows back in the PSL. And you know, there's a big gap between the PSL and the first division in South Africa, and the opportunity was really just too good to turn down. I think, you know, it was. It just came at a time when I just felt, you know, we'd just come out of the PSL, and then the opportunity to go back so quickly was too much for me to turn down. So I had to take that chance.
But also, talking about resigning, coach, I think you've had a quite history of resigning, because there was also this time that you resigned as the head coach of Zimbabwean Caps United, but later the same day you were announced as the head coach of Township Rollers, I think so. Does it mean when you're working with one club, you also look for better opportunities in other clubs?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, people sort of look at my CV and they label me as a bit of a nomad as well. They come with this story, you know, but they don't really delve into the background of why I change and move. And you've asked me the question earlier about African soccer and professionalism and finances and all these things. They all come into play. At that moment at Caps United, the players had not been paid for 6 months. I think I was owed, I think, about 3 months' salary. The players had actually refused to play in one league game because there was no money. So the club was in total disarray. So for me to leave at that point was only a good thing, you know. It was going nowhere. So I can vindicate my move from there every time, you know. But I've left a lot of football clubs in Africa due to the interference, the unprofessionalism, the lack of paying players, you know, and you can go from one club to another club in a different country and it's the same story, just a different place. Lack of finance, lack of players getting no salary, half salary. Even at Gor Mahia for 18 months, the players were paid a half salary for 18 months. Nobody wants to listen to that. Everybody wants you to win the league, or you should win this and you should win every game. You know, this is the mentality. I mean, at Gor Mahia, I mean, the president of the club, or the chairman, Ambrose. Yeah. I mean, he's the top guy. He's a top guy. He's such a good man. He tries so hard for that football club, and he puts so much of his own money into that football club. But let me tell you, the other guys, they're clueless. They're clueless, and they think you should win every game, but they're not appreciating that they've not paid the players their full salaries for 18 months. They don't get their allowances. we can't travel to this place because there's no money, there's this, there's that, there's this story. Even one day after the pre-match meal before one home game, I actually paid $400 for the meal because the club didn't have the money. You know, people don't know these things, and they go around casting aspersions on people as well. You know, and they should look a little bit deeper, because some of these directors of these football clubs, they don't know what they're doing, and they have this thought pattern that we should just go and win every game because we're Gormley here, or we're AFC Leopards, or we're this, or we're that. But they don't think about the welfare of the players or the technical team, etc. So that's the answer to that question. Too many times I've run into too many problems, and I'm not prepared to live with it. You know, they employ you, then they should stand up and do the job properly.
I don't know if my next question is still related to the answer that you've given me, because you left Botswana. When you left Botswana, you left saying that the people of Botswana really make it hard to do things. Is this what you meant by the people of Botswana making it hard to do things?
I think what I meant at that time when I left Botswana, because I was at Rollers for about 18 months and we won the championship. We were in the final of the cup. We lost in extra time. And we were preparing for CAF, playing in CAF. But when we won the championship, the Botswana FA did their utmost to try and take it off us, because they were trying to accuse us of signing players out of the transfer window and all these stories. Our club were prepared to take the Botswana FA to FIFA to counter. In the end, the Botswana FA backed off and gave us the championship, as we deserved it. I mean, we won the championship by 10 points clear. And what I meant when I left was that basically the Botswana FA were just making it very difficult for Township Rollers at that time. And I just had enough of it, really. I was just tired of all the politics. And that's another problem with African football politics. Everywhere you go, there's politics, you know, internal politics, people infighting, people trying to pick the team, tell you which players to sign and which way to train and this and that. And I just get tired of it.
Also, are you talking about you led Township Rollers to their Botswana Premier League title, and also they reached the Mascom Top 8 Cup. Just give us a brief history of about your time at Township Rollers, and also you winning the league with Township Rollers as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, to be fair to Township Rollers, it was a well-run football club. And it was sad to leave there. The owner of the club was Jagdish Shah, and he funded the club so well, and he tried to run the club so professionally well. And I think when I did leave Botswana, I made that comment to the press that they're probably one of the most professional clubs I've worked with in Africa. They were quality. They had everything. If I wanted something to improve the nature of the football, they would back me and give me that opportunity. And to be fair, they gave me those opportunities, and we returned it with the championship, you know. And that's all you can ask, I think, as a coach and as an owner of a club. The two of you work together. Yeah, we had our little times when we disagreed, but that's fine. That's normal. But ultimately, we were successful, and I really, really did enjoy my time at Township Rollers. But the Botswana FA were just making life difficult for everybody, and I got the offer to go to Baroka back in SA. And I took that opportunity at that time for that simple reason, really. But it was a shame to leave Rollers, to be fair, because I think we could have gone on to bigger and better things. But there you go.
Talking of you leaving Township Rollers to Baroka, you went there as a technical director, but you didn't stay. What happened there as well?
Hey, man, when I got there, I think I was there 2 days, and I phoned my wife. She was actually she was actually in the UK, because we'd only been over for Christmas to the UK, you know. And you know, I went back to Baroka in January. I think after 2 days, I phoned my wife and said, "Hey, I've made a mistake." But what that transpired was that the owner of the football club just wanted to control everything. Wanted to control team selection, wanted to control players in and out, wanted to bully the coach, wanted to bully me. And again, I wouldn't stand for it. And basically, we had a big argument. They suspended me. I had to take them to the PSL for my contract. In the end, they had to pay me my contract, and that was to their detriment, not mine in the end. You know, but this is the problem. What happens with these clubs? You know, they're so. Well, I keep using the word unprofessional. You know, in a way, how can I say? If you employ somebody to do a job, let them do the job.
Yeah.
If you want to do that job, then do it yourself. Don't employ anybody. And that's how it was, you know.
Africa has a history of employing coaches, technical directors, but then the football administrators still want to come in to do the work they've employed somebody else to do. So that's why, yeah. Also, you left Baroka, and then later in July 2017, you went to Zimbabwe. You joined Zimbabwe Premier Soccer League team, Harare City, as the technical director as well. And later you got promoted to the manager a year later. We've talked about your time at South Africa, your time at Gor Mahia. Just give us also a brief history of your time in Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah, in Zimbabwe, look, obviously I was at CAPS for a short period, I think 4 or 5 months, but that was just a financial disaster. So there's not much more you can say about that. Yeah. I went to Harare City. Again, quite a well-run club, and they're owned or run by the City Council of Harare. So it was pretty well run, and you know, we had good vision there. I think we wanted to try and build an academy and give the opportunity to the youngsters of Harare, etc.
Yeah.
So we had good plans, and the chairman of the club and the board of the club, you know, we were working hand in hand, and we worked well together. Unfortunately, with that one, is that the Zimbabwean dollar crashed, and financially it just didn't make sense for me to stay there at that point in time, because I was being paid in local currency at that time. So once it crashed, it just made it impossible. So there was no real negativity there. It was just unfortunate about the economy at the time. And then I got the opportunity to go to Islanders just after that, which was great because I was being paid in US dollar offshore, so that obviously made it worth my while. But unfortunately, COVID came and destroyed that as well. The lockdown came, and I had to leave the country. I went back to the UK, and we're in lockdown for a year and a half or so. So that was a shame, real shame, because I only just got there for 3 months. We never even got going. We never played a league game. Quite enjoyed Zimbabwe, to be fair. It's not a bad place, you know, and the people are quite nice people, and there is opportunity, but it unfortunately didn't work out at Highlanders because of COVID.
Yeah, then after COVID in August 2021, you were appointed the manager of the KPL Giants Gor Mahia FC. You didn't stay as well. What happened at Gor Mahia?
Well, that's again, I walked into another financial mess. Obviously, their sponsorship had been cut in half.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, players hadn't been paid full salary for, I think, nearly 18 months or so, 12 to 18 months anyway. Players were owed bonuses, they were owed this, that, the other. And it was just a difficult circumstance, I think. You know, players were unhappy. We could never get settled. You know, there was always a problem here, a problem there. And then the interference sort of started to rear its ugly head again, not from the chairman, but from other board members, you know, you know, this, that, and the other. And in the end, they basically fired me, you know, because I wasn't conducive to their stories, you know. We had a big board meeting with the technical team and the board. They put their points of view, we put our point of view. We said to them that, you know, you're not the Gor Mahia you were 2-3 years ago. So stop riding on that one. You know, you've got to be realistic and see where you are today.
Yes.
And they wouldn't accept that, and that was that. Really, they terminated the contracts. You know, so they had to pay the exit clause to me, which I think was a crazy situation, because if they had just been a little bit more patient, and a little bit more sensible, we'd have been okay. Yeah. You know, now they've got a decent sponsor. We'd have probably got the club back on track.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they couldn't wait. They were just. I don't know. What can I say? They are what they are, and that's it.
Also, now you are the technical director at Malawi's Mighty Wanderers. You joined them in September this year. How has it been so far?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, I've been here, I think, 6 weeks. And the season's just ending now.
Yeah.
We're actually in preparation for next year, for the kickoff next season. But so far so good. The club has restructured. They've tried to commercialise themselves. And the president of the football club here, Mighty Wanderers, is the owner of the FDH Bank. I think he puts in a lot of money, which, you know, that's not easy for him, I'm sure. We also have a good sponsor as well in Mukuru, which maybe you've heard of. The money transfer people, a bit like Western Union and those type of things, you know.
Yeah.
And we've got them on board as a main sponsor. So with that as well, hopefully next year we can start to make things happen, because it's a big club. There's Bullets here and ourselves are the biggest two clubs in the country, and I think Mighty Wanderers have been starved of success over the last 5 or 6 years. So, you know, we've got a big job on our hands to try and turn that around a little bit, try and bring the championship to the club next season if we can. If not, definitely the year after. But yeah, so far so good. I'm enjoying it. It's hot. Let me tell you, it's a hot place. I'm sitting in my bedroom now in the air conditioning, so. But no, so far so good. Everybody's been good to me here. There's been no issues and no hassles, and we're getting on with the job the best we can.
Great, coach. Yeah, I promise to only take 20 minutes of your time, and I don't want to take much of it. I want to keep my words. But before I let you go, coach, the World Cup is starting today. Of course, it's the opening ceremony. But there has been a lot of controversies, but it's here. It's happening in Qatar. Just what do you think about Qatar hosting the World Cup, and which team are you supporting for the World Cup?
Oh, this is another contentious issue, eh?
Yeah.
With what went down with FIFA and Qatar. So I think everybody's conversant with that one. Look, it is what it is. It's there.
Yeah.
Fair play to them. They've built the infrastructure ready for it. And I think it's the first time it's taking part in the Middle East, I think, maybe.
Yes.
So yeah, so let's get on with it. Let's enjoy it. Let's see England win the World Cup. I wish that could happen, but I'm not sure it will.
Okay. So you don't think any African team can get to the finals? Because, you know, Samuel Eto'o had predicted that Cameroon is
I don't think so.
Okay.
Unless they come with some juju, I don't know.
Talking about juju, coach, you've talked about it. So do you believe juju, African football teams use juju? No, have you ever experienced juju in Africa since you started?
Yeah. Every club I've been to, they all sort of dabble with it a little bit, you know, here and there. They try to do it in you know, behind the scenes, and this, that, the other.
But it's not working.
It doesn't work, does it? Let's be honest. I mean, it's an old tradition, and I think we just need to try. Everybody just needs to move on into the 21st century. Because if it did work, then African nation would win the World Cup every year. So.
Sure. Thank you so much, Coach, for creating time for my show. I appreciate it so much. It has been an honor hosting you. Great person, great football player, a legend as well. So I don't take it for granted.
No, sure. No, I appreciate the time, and I hope my honesty helps people understand football more in Africa.
Yeah.
Because I want to be honest with people so that they understand, because it's educational, you know, and unfortunately a lot of clubs just like to whitewash everything, and they just like to overtalk everything, and the supporters don't understand what's going down, you know, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I just hope my honesty is helpful. So not too cruel, but hopeful. Helpful, I mean.
Sure, let's hope so. To our viewers, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notification bell, comment down below so that anytime I upload a new video, you can get a notification. Thank you, Coach, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.